in order for you to get to the next level of being able to give an excellent client experience, you have to get the clients. And so you have to constantly be in communication with human beings and connected to human beings in order for you to develop client opportunities.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Reside Platform Podcast. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, Mie Yamashita. Mie, what's up?
Hey, what's up with you, man?
You know, sitting here this week in October, getting ready for a big travel month. And I just got back from Unlock.
Yeah, you were just at Zillow Unlock, weren't you?
Yeah, Zillow Unlock, which was also FubCon.
Yeah, tell me about it. How was that?
Let me tell you, is Zillow they always have great events. They spend the money and they do it right. They feed you. They invite a lot of people. They make it cool. They always have a really neat closing party for the event. This year, if you saw me missing field goals, which I know you did, we got to go.
I'll bring
it up. That video did really well on Instagram. They rented out the Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play, and we got to hang out on the friggin' field.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy. Wait, was that like a VIP thing, or was that like everyone got to do that?
Everyone got to go do that. So there was a lot of people. It was awesome.
Yeah,
and then
that's
FubCon,
really cool.
Yeah, totally. Follow Up Boss, our friends. We have a partnership with Follow Up Boss through the Reside platform, so we all use it pretty exclusively, I would say. And they also always had really good events. And they had one at this same place at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas previously, so it was reminiscent of that. They did a good mix. This is what people should know is I don't want to say integration, but I'm going to say integration. What Zillow wants us to be able to do is use their tools to be able to convert more business, right? And convert more business to helpful. What's that?
Do you know what that's going to look like now?
I know that it's going to be adding a bunch more stuff to everything. So, like, the intention is make it more seamless for the consumer, which all consumers want, right? All consumers want it to be more seamless, and to make it more cohesive for the agent, to where we get the appointment, we get the, very many cases they will be pre-approved by Zillow Home Loans. In very many cases, they will do a closing through Zillow's closing service. I believe it's called Spruce, is an app. And just be cohesive, one-stop shop. And I know what listeners and realtors out there are going to say. Is going to be like the evil empire in Star Wars, right?
I'm conflicted on that. Yeah, like I already see the stories. Like I've seen them on all the posts out there in the community, and people go right to that. I mean, what do you have to say about it?
I don't think that there's any need for any evil empire. I mean, consumers are going to do a certain thing. Agents are going to do a certain thing. Never is it going to be 100% of anything. People who were really afraid about the different iBuyers, which I was heavily involved with Zillow in their iBuyer program. I still have a great relationship with both Zillow and Opendoor. And hey, what happened to the iBuyer program, all that everybody was worried about 4 years ago? Do you even hear anyone talk about it anymore? No. So, and even when that was at its height, it was just a few percent of any market, right? So, at the end of the day, people want to work with people that they trust, right? And who are the smartest in their market. If you do a good job of being that person, you have nothing to worry about. I think there's something to be said for team leaders and agents whose whole business is rented out business from a portal. Like, do you ever want to have all your eggs in one basket? Does that ever work for you?
Mm-mm. I mean, I think you always have to be diversifying, like in every area. But so back up just a second, because you said that some agents are not going to have to even blink an eye at these changes. What do you think agents that might need to worry about it should be shifting or changing?
I mean, it's going to come into stuff that you talk about much better than I do, right? Like, how good are you at, number one, when you work with somebody, just doing an awesome job, exceeding the client's expectations. I just had a coaching call about 40 minutes ago with Mark Hiller, longtime coaching client, friend of ours, been a longtime member of the Cheplack environment. And Mark is a second generation agent. His dad was a realtor too. And we were talking about leads and running teams. And I asked him what his dad thought, because his dad was not that guy. His dad was a guy who sold, 30, 40 houses a year. And I think it's in the Midwest. Missouri or something, or Florida or Minnesota, and he would always do such a good job, give his clients a win every time, that he was easy to be referred. He's unicorns, one of those unicorns whose phone just rings from doing a good job, right? So if that's not you, and you're going to know by how much your phone rings real quick, you need to be talking to people. And when you're talking to people, I think oftentimes, and I've struggled with this, is when you talk to a consumer or a prospect, are you thinking, is your first thought, is this person full of shit? Am I wasting my time? You are, how quick can I know if this person is going to be a deal or not? Right? So those are the things that we need to get away from and think about more. This is an actual human being. Let's talk to a human and see if we can really help them, instead of the red, wall going up, and say, well, I don't want to waste too much time. This person may not even be pre-qualified, which people go to.
Which they will eventually. And I think that you tapped into like a really important point is, in order for you to get to the next level of being able to give an excellent client experience, you have to get the clients. And so you have to constantly be in communication with human beings and connected to human beings in order for you to develop, client opportunities. This is something that John has been talking about a lot. John Cheplack has been talking about a lot, on having like more 2-minute conversations, specifically like more conversations, longer conversations. And you're not going to get to be able to deliver on an excellent client experience if you're not just talking to more people, like more than you would usually be talking to.
Yes, you have to be talking to people always. And when you talk to them, you should really like ask a lot of questions and not talk a lot, right? Which I think is hard for newer, inexperienced salespeople. Speaking from personal experience, is you want to talk a lot so you sound smart.
But it's actually compensatory behavior, which is subconsciously signaling to the other person, hey, I'm really insecure and I'm overcompensating by saying all these things.
Yes.
It's actually and Rise today, one of their homework, Rise is our Reside intensive sales experience that we give to all of our teams inside of Reside.
Love that name.
And they put their agents. Thank you. It was the best acronym I've ever come up with. It just fits. But one of their homework tonight was to have three question conversations. So they have to have 3 separate conversations with anyone, can be real estate related or not. And they have to ask them 3 questions before they make a definitive statement about themselves. So we did a couple of practice rounds, and it's like, it gets easier the more you do it, but it's such a solid practice for learning how to ask more questions about other people, because we feel more connected to who we're talking to about ourselves, not who's talking about themselves to us.
Yes. That's so good. Talk about a great segue. That wasn't even planned, dude. It
It wasn't.
wasn't.
Okay, so we've
Okay.
talked. You've talked a little bit about like what an agent might have to do to step up. What are some other things that stood out to you at the Zillow conference?
Is that they're really innovating. They are really innovating. And I think it's important for anybody in real estate to realize that.
Mm,
Something else, when we're talking about, there was some not that Zillow said this, but this question was asked to me by smart people, maybe a couple times. Like, is there a day when the AI becomes so good that being a real estate agent ceases to exist?
I
Is
mean,
there a
I think
day?
that's a legit question to ask.
I think that's a legit question to ask. Is there a day where becoming a teacher also ceases to exist? And this is getting into a way, deeper conversation. But yeah, but um, in the real estate space, right? And this is the answer that I gave whoever asked me this: is today the consumers today, and I would even say people like our kids' ages, maybe not your son's age, but definitely my 8-year-old daughter's age. I think a world of them conducting a personal transaction like that, dealing with a living human that knows their stuff. I don't think that we're going to see it. Now, is the technology advancing quicker than either of us can even fathom? Yes.
Yeah,
However, I don't see it.
I have thoughts. Because I don't disagree. There's like a couple of things that like fundamentally show up for me in this AI conversation, especially how pertinent it is to our world because there is so much automation and so much behind the scenes like remove the human that turns out to be pretty effective. When you can remove the real estate agent from like drip campaigns or whatever. Like I've heard the AI conversations too. Like a Raya type thing, like things to that extent. They're pretty good.
They work fine.
Yeah, they work. They work plenty fine. Okay, so two things. One is I think about our hardwiring as human beings. We are hardwired for a connection. It is like a fundamental programming that we have. And so we long for connection and we fear alienation of connection. And so I don't know if we'll ever be able to take the human out. And there are some circumstances where I prefer technology, and there are some circumstances where I'd prefer to 100% be talking to the human. And I think Daniel Pink does a really great job of describing this with an analogy he said in one of his master classes that, I can go on WebMD and I can figure out my symptoms in nearly every situation, medical wise, but I go to the doctor to curate my experience. And technology will never be able to do to truly curate the experience that, the nuance of our human experience like another human can. And that's where I think, we'll always see the human involved. And then the second thing that I've seen a lot of, but I don't know enough about, but I'm curious on, is how much water and resources it takes to actually utilize AI when it's already kind of a scarce resource as it is. So that's the only thing that I think about that might hinder some of that like fast development. But I don't know enough about the second portion.
Sure, like Dell is building like billions of semiconductors in the ocean right now for AI. Like the number they
There
said
you
is
go.
something friggin' right. But I mean,
How long do you think that'll take?
good. I don't know, but I mean, valid. Both of your points are valid. People do long for connection, and there's tribalism and hanging out. However, we are being trained to also be hardwired for convenience.
That is so good.
Right?
We are trained for that.
Oh, how often do you get DoorDash?
For lunch today and for lunch yesterday. I'm hooked on these spring rolls right now. These fresh spring rolls from this restaurant down the street. Shout out Rice Paper on 7. That's so funny.
Like,
no, you're so
when was the last time you not that you probably go to fast food anymore, and I usually don't, but when was the last time you went to an option? Or here's one, you go to Target. When was the last time you said, I'm just going to deal with the dude at the checkout and wait a couple more minutes, or I'm just going to stand and self-checkout?
For the longest time.
Yeah, me too. It's the best. Costco same day. That's the best. That is the ultimate life hack.
Parking. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Ideal.
But like Target, right? Like Target, you would go for something less. Do you wait in line to talk to Bill at Target and have him crack some jokes that he's probably told everybody else that day? Or shout out to Bill at Target in West Sac. Or do you go to the self-checkout for convenience and just getting out of there? There's some of both.
I mean, it's like, and like when I go to UPS now, when I do returns from Amazon, I don't have to talk to a person. I can just scan and drop. And that's like way more ideal for returns. Okay, so I think this convenience conversation actually lends to this bigger real estate conversation too, because that is really what so many of our agents are up against, in the ability to show up to something consistently when our dopamine response has been hijacked for convenience and outcomes. Yeah. It's very tough to show up consistently to something that doesn't give you that intrinsic reward. Yes.
It's very hard to do anything consistently. Pick up the phone, post to social media, right? With that delayed outcome. However, the convenience, there's some word, the convenience quandary. And maybe that's a blog. Maybe that's a blog. Stay tuned.
Do you feel like that's a problem that Zillow, I mean, they've solved for that in many ways, but do you think that they've taken that even a step further in the convenience factor for the consumer with some of the innovations they're doing?
Absolutely. They bought showing time, which, in some MLS is 100% of the way that you access listings, right? So consumer, and here's something else about the AI, which I talked about a lot last year, and I haven't talked about it a lot this year, which is interesting, is we are at some point going to be able to say, I think you could do it on ChatGPT right now, but you could say, hey, Alexa, hopefully none turn on. Hey, Alexa, I'm looking for a $500,000 house in a nice part of Sacramento with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. That is by the friggin' Target in West Sac. I want it to be 1 story. How many houses are on the market? So there's 5 houses on the market. Great. Schedule an appointment for me to see them tomorrow.
Yeah.
That is.
I'm ready for that, because I can't get who to play a song for me sometimes, or to get my timers right when I'm trying to time my cupcakes. So if we get to that level, no, really, I mean, there's a part of me that
it's really hard with cooking. It's never quite right.
Or like, stop talking to me about things I don't care about. Just set my timer. She's like, good morning, Mariko. Do you also want to hear about Amazon Prime deals today? That's the thing that's also scary about the technology upgrade, is that the consumerism is absolutely going to increase tenfold alongside the convenience factor.
I buy more shit because I can get it on Amazon in 2 seconds. How about you?
Yep. I almost exclusively purchase things from Amazon.
Yeah. I don't even go to Target anymore, right? Like, I can wait 4 hours.
Yeah.
So like that convenience thing is like, look, I go to Alexa and say that, and I get a tour scheduled, and you're an agent. Maybe it's through Zillow, or maybe it's through Realtor.com, and now you got an appointment on your phone right? Where you got to show up and that person is getting that same dopamine hit. No one asked them for their friggin' social.
Right.
No one asked them for their motivation, even.
Which is a bypass, of not being pressured or feeling obligated.
Right?
And
And then now they can go see a house. And next time and if you don't do a good job, then next time they want to see a house, they could either say, "Oh, what was that Asian's name we met? Oh, he had a real nice haircut, good smile, but what was his name?
Yeah,
right, Sanjeet. You have a number? No, I don't know.
Relationship.
Yeah.
Stay in relationship with your people.
Or they can say, "Hey Zillow, hey Alexa, I want to go look at more houses today." The convenience quandary.
No, I'm like, there are still a lot of human beings in that experience where it might complicate that. Like, you getting the showing approved, getting the timing right on the showing, like actually having an agent there to open the door, or answering questions about things in the neighborhood. Like, do I need to worry about septic or well here? Is this in a flood zone? Like things like that maybe you can't bypass the human on.
Well, when maybe it's the next iteration is the agent goes with a trained GPT on every house in Sacramento, and they open the door and someone has a question, say, Mr. Mr. Seller, Mr. Mrs. Buyer, I don't know. Let me check.
Yeah.
Hey, GPT, tell me everything about this neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. Right? Because that's what they said. There's one of the Facebook founders. He's an Indian guy. He was on Joe Rogan, and he has his own podcast. He's a thin guy, right? He was talking about how the applications of this are going to be in medicine, where like for some forms of cancer, like the miss rate is like 30%, because they're depending on a doctor's like senses. When if they used AI, or if they had something that came up, how is a doctor supposed to memorize every single thing about everything, when the doctor's job should be able to do that function very well, right? Or be able to interpret the data very well. So those are the with AI. Man, this got into an AI episode. Let's do a hard turn. Let's do a hard turn. Tell me, how many team leaders are you working with through Reside right now, and coaching, like meeting with someone regularly?
Like six to eight.
Okay. And then we have approximately at any time, how many agents signed up for the Rise training?
Couple hundred. Yeah.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say that you have a good sense of the pulse of what's happening in real estate right now?
All over the country. Yeah. Yeah.
And so tell me what's happening.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I see every year around this time when we have like major weather issues, is that like we as leaders have to pay really close attention to like being humans first. And, because life's like serious life stuff is happening. I mean, I have probably 15 to 20 agents right now evacuating and leaving, their homes in Florida, struggling with whether or not they're going to evacuate. I've been on text messages all day checking in on our people, and real life stuff is going on. I would never ask an agent about their lead generation today. Yeah, I'm sending them great energy. Yeah. But there's this counter side to it, that they also have to produce, and they also have to, like, Phil Farmer's a great example of this. He's in South Carolina. His family's been without power and electricity for like over almost a week or over a week. They just got power back, and internet. They are supposed to get internet hopefully back by Wednesday. He's still putting things under contract. Like I was even like, hey, like if you don't want to meet, cool, but I'm ready to meet. And he's like, nope, I want to meet. And like, he's still going. And so I think there's this like really delicate balance in times like these when we see like really like major life stuff is like human first, and address that there are still needs that can only be fulfilled through like the business stuff. And so like just checking in and seeing like, okay, what can we do to keep the ball moving forward? And sometimes it's just like, my house is flooded and there's nothing I can do about that. Like, I get it.
Yeah. So definitely we do want to give a shout out to everybody dealing with any kind of hurricane stuff. Like you and I were talking about offline. I live in California. I've had floods, fires, earthquakes, floods. I lost a car to a flood, and my house got flooded when I was a kid. However, I've never had a hurricane. So like,
yeah, and they're scary. I had Hurricane Florence when I lived in Wilmington, North Carolina, and we had to evacuate to Asheville, and it was a whole thing.
So you evacuated to Asheville, which now just got smashed, which is like horribly tragic, right? Like,
yeah, we were fortunate we didn't have water in our house, but we did have trees come down on our garage and everything. And then it's like the aftermath. Like I was, I actually ended up going to Haro. You know who Haro is. I went to South Carolina, to Greenville from Asheville, and I went and lead generated with him and his team while we were evacuated. And I just called every one of our like nurturers and clients and checked in on them, which by the way, like that's exactly what you could be doing if you want to lead generate right now and like move the needle forward, is like actually check in on your people and like keep the relationships alive with no other intention than just to make sure they're okay. So I called our database. I was an ISA at the time. I called our database from Greenville, got some energy from lead generating with his team of ISAs. And, my house was getting clobbered by trees, but, I kept the needle moving forward because I had to.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're in the hurricane or in any kind of big thing like that, and you do want to pick up the phone, I don't think either of us are telling you to, but if you do want to, start with check-in calls, just like COVID, right? Like COVID, the first couple of weeks, people completely paralyzed, must be similar to being in a hurricane, right? Yeah. And check in, do a what's it called? A wellness check? Is that what you call it? Wellness check?
Yep, wellness check. Yeah, I mean, that kind of leads me to something else is like, okay, we had COVID and then we're also in an election cycle again. And so we're in an election cycle. We've got hurricanes going on. Like there's a lot of things going on that are very like, I guess maybe the word for it is topical, that are, impacting agents across the country. And
consumers, people.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, here's what I come back to when agents are struggling with just the realities of life, is that you're going to have to learn how to adapt to whatever's going on in the moment and never let it be a reason enough for you not to do what you need to do, because there will always be business. There will always be business to be done. Like I even think of like, 07, 08, the number of homes sold wasn't zero. It was in the millions. Millions of homes were sold. I knew so many people then that were in real estate that were like, I'm getting out. And, which was you weren't alone in that. It was a natural byproduct of like a major shift. If you can adapt, if you can be someone who's adaptable and like can tolerate change, it really doesn't matter what's going on in the political atmosphere or the economic atmosphere. You'll find a way to find the business somehow.
What do you think? Yeah, 100%. In my journal every day, I write this down to myself. You've heard me talk about the stuff I write down in my journal. Is I write, this is a great real estate market. This is a great real estate market. I write that every damn day. What about the election?
And as far as the impact that it's having?
Let's talk about impact on because you did say a good word, topical, right? It's like surface level stuff that's affecting people.
Yeah.
I do believe that some consumers may want to see what the outcome is of the election.
Yeah. There will be some that hold.
Yeah. And on the same breath, I think that too many agents are saying that the election is getting in their way.
And I think that you've made a very astute point. So, okay, let's just acknowledge, without getting political, that there are this is a very volatile election cycle. I mean, I think that we've always had some volatility, but this one is really, there's a lot of energy around it, a lot of really intense behavior, belief systems, and everyone is feeling very passionate. Yeah, it's very, yeah. So, and the reason I say that is because what we can acknowledge is true is that there's a lot of human behavior and emotion afoot. And so when intensities are high, we tend to match that frequency. And when your belief system is, I can't ... because of ... what you do is you give your brain a job to scan your environment to go find more evidence of that thing being true. So like you saying, this is a great real estate market. You are telling your brain to believe, hey, go find more evidence that this is true, that this is a great real estate market. When I was in ISA, you know what I would say every time before I picked up the phone? They're home, they're happy, and they want to list with me. They're home, they're happy, and they want to list with me. They're home, they're happy, and they want to list with me. And I would just tell myself, and I got more answers on my phone. Anyways, what you want to be true, you'll get. And so if you want to believe that the election cycle is a reason that you're not getting business, you will find a lot of really great bias. It's confirmation bias. It's like your brain is attuned to find more evidence of that thing. There was this, it's in this book actually called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker. He references this study by Ellen Langer. So good. I think it was like 1970 she did this, where she got together a group of elderly men that were like 70-ish. And she created an environment. They all like stayed in this one place for like 2 weeks. And I could be butchering some of the details, so look it up for yourself, but I'll get to the point. She put them in an environment where they looked at magazines and shows from 20 years prior. Everything in their environment was them from 20 years ago, even down to like their names on their little like badges, or their faces on their badges were pictures from 20 years ago. And they were all instructed. Yeah, they were all instructed to behave as if it were 20 years ago. And by the end of that study, which was only 2 weeks that they did this, they had, some of them had improved eyesight, some of them had curbed like arthritis symptoms, and they had a focus group look at pictures of them before and after. And nearly unanimously, the people thought that the older pictures of them were them from being younger, and the pictures that were taken at the beginning were them as an older version of themselves. And they thought there was a 2 to 3 year difference in between that time. And my point of this is your brain is so powerful, it'll believe whatever you tell it. If you tell it enough times, it will believe you. And your RAS you'll give your RAS a job, your brain a job to say, go find more evidence of that. So sure, you might find some examples where someone is waiting for the elections to be over before they make a decision. And if you believe that everybody wants that, then sure, you'll also get no business. But if you can just acknowledge that will be some of the time, it's not everybody, and it never will be.
I have 2 questions for you. Number one is, I am a producing real estate agent. Someone tells me on the prospecting call that they want to wait for the election. What do I say, Mia?
You want to wait until the election is over before you make a decision?
Yes.
What makes you say that?
I think if Bugs Bunny wins, then the market's going to crash.
Okay. Tell me what you understand about an election cycle having an immediate impact on the economy.
Well, wasn't it last time that the housing market got better when George W. Bush won?
Can you give me an example of that? Can you refresh my memory?
It's so good. I don't even know what to say. Okay, so
now
clarifying
could it be possible? Yes. Suneet, could it be possible that you wait until the election cycle is over and we see interest rates go up versus down?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So what's important to you about waiting, knowing that there's this level of uncertainty?
Yes. So good. Are you teaching people that in Rise?
Oh yeah, dude. Every single day. We read from the Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents, and we practice questions.
Yes. That's really, really good. That's really, really, really good. What about, we're talking about beliefs. And you said a belief that you had when you were making calls. You're hella good at scripts. Dude, like everybody listening to this, they're not scripts. Everybody listening to this or watching this right now. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thank you for that, because you're so right. Everybody watching this and listening to this, go rewind back like 2 minutes and listen to that again. If you lead a team of agents, listen to them that again. That's the kind of stuff that makes the difference between being where you're at and being at the next level. Okay, really, really, really good job. So beliefs. What kind of beliefs should I have as a realtor team leader? What are my manifestation and beliefs, right? What do I need to tell myself?
You said as a team leader?
As a real estate professional.
Okay. So number one, I have to believe that I provide value and that what I do matters. And the way that I explain this to team owners and agents is that I choose to believe that I operate in integrity, that I come from contribution, and that I do the right thing. And so people that have a real estate need deserve to be in business with me because I'm going to treat them like a person. So I just get my mission right first, is that like ultimately I'm going to help more people. And I know that when I'm at the helm and I'm steering the ship, that they're going to be helped and that they're going to be considered and they're going to be taken care of. And if you can step into purpose first, it's a lot easier to work through the head trash when you have a mission.
Wow. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. Be all of this stuff, I'm all, oh, yeah, that's so good. Nailed it. If you're listening to and watching this, rewind this again. But yeah, believe you can help. Believe that it's a good market. Believe that people are still transacting every day. And you know what? That's not a made-up story.
No.
New escrows are being opened every single day. Do you think the clients and prospects that you talk to are special? I mean, special as far as out, like in any percentage out of the what's really happening? Right? They're not. It's your beliefs that are getting in your way. And beliefs have created wars, created all kinds of stuff in our history. Yeah. Right? And people trying to change people's beliefs still is the reason for lots of wars, right? Talk about all this shit happening, right? For real.
I think the next belief system that you have to have is that there is plenty of business for you. I've had clients in the past say there's just no business, like not for me. I've had coaching clients with really thick accents, with really small sphere of influence, with, very introverted personality type, some socially awkward. I've had some that are, like kind of your typical sales personality. And there are two things that I fundamentally know are true. One is it really does not matter who you are or what your personality type is or whatever. Like there might be some things that you're up against, but anyone can be successful in this business. Anyone. And if they do the work and they're consistent and they work on their skill set, anyone can do it. And then number two is there's always business. And so whenever I would hear that there's not enough business, I would have them go to their local MLS and I would say, how many went under contract today and how many closed? And the number is never zero.
Never.
Ever. So pick your heart.
Yeah. Any other beliefs agents should work on? I don't think so. I think you nailed them.
I mean, I can come up with a list of affirmations, but I think that we've hit the most important ones.
No, yeah, it's so good. I believe that I provide value. I believe that business is happening, and I believe that there's enough business for me.
That's right. There's more than enough.
Yeah, I hope you wrote that down because those could be like a series of tweets.
Content.
Sickening. Yes. Ooh, I could tweet that. Okay. Good. Well, I think we dropped fire. This was a good
Yeah.
episode. If you got something out of this episode, Mr. or Mrs. or Miss viewer, listener, please let us know. Leave a comment, share with a friend. We don't, this is the podcast for the Reside platform, which is our business platform for real estate professionals. That Mia is a great leader in our organization, working with teams and coaches working with teams and coaching other team leaders and helping us founders, go day to day too. So doing a great job. But if you want more, or if you have any questions, we will drop a link in the comments to get more information about the Reside Platform podcast. And even, I'll put a link to my recruiting checklist in here too. So if you do want to grow right now, grab that link, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Reside Platform podcast.